This is We the Sales Engineers podcast, show 236.
Welcome to We the SEs podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba.
What's up, SE Nation? Welcome back to another episode. In case you don't know me, I am your host, Ramsey Majaba. I am a sales engineer out of Ottawa, Canada, and I help others become either sales engineers or better sales engineers. So today, you've probably listened to the show. If you haven't, welcome. If you have, we have a repeat guest. So my guest, his name is Larson Stairs. He was on show 126, so over 100 shows ago. Jeez. All right. So it's been a while since we talked to him. He's the CEO and co-founder of DemoFlow, now known as Gondola.ai. I love that tool. I use it as much as I possibly can. I wish my company would actually buy it and integrate it to Salesforce, but we do what we can. And we're not going to talk about Gondola in itself because we've already talked about that. What we're going to talk about is discovery. So he's seen a shift. The reason he changed the name, he'll explain a little bit better. So I'll just leave it there. But he's seen a shift from focus on demos to actually discovery calls. So we talk about discovery, what he's seen, and how we can be better at it. We actually role play, so that was fun. And we talk about the mistakes that we've seen both sales engineers and salespeople do throughout. So that's what the show is about. If you're looking to change jobs or become a sales engineer and looking for help with your resume, check out the, what did I call it? How to write an awesome resume guide. I'll leave a link in the show notes so you can check that out. But let's just jump into the show and see what Larson has to say. All right, so we've been talking for a half hour, and I have Larson back. Finally. It's been a while. How you been?
I've been good. It's good to see you again, Ramsey.
It's good to see you too. So your email has changed from at demoflow.com at Gondola. This is how I started the podcast. Like that. Actually, maybe I'll take a step back. Who are you? For those who didn't hear you the first time, and those who don't know DemoFlow, shame on them. But can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Well, my name is Larson Stair. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a former solution called DemoFlow that is now called Gondola. And just in essence, we're a sales enablement solution that helps to really codify the sales process you want reps to be following, whether it's discovery calls, product demonstrations with AEs and SCs. How do we make better ways to be working together on those two parts of the sales cycle?
And you didn't change the name from DemoFlow to Gondola just on a whim. There was a reason behind that. Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it actually started over a year ago. It was probably August of last year that we were like, well, we saw a bigger problem in the marketplace, and it was around scaling sales process, not just the demo piece of that. Demos are a part of the sales process, but and what we wanted to help with is more broad. It's broader across the sales cycle. But as we were expanding our functionality into discovery calls, that was the next point of expansion that we saw with some of the largest pains lying there. Everyone thought, well, I don't present on discovery calls, so why would I use this product that's called DemoFlow on discovery? Like, that doesn't make any sense. I don't share slides on that. So that was part of the reason why we needed to make a change.
It's interesting because you say not many people you shouldn't do presentations on discovery. I still see a lot of people have their presentations up and running and going through 600 slides as part of the discovery.
Yeah.
So, like, why do you see it? Like, you initially started as a demo, but now you're saying it's more like people are using it more for discovery. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, I think just pure volume. You just have more discovery calls than you do demos. 9 times out of 10. So I think volume is a part of it. But I think, I also think that discovery calls at times can be more challenging to scale. Like if you could set up slides and talk tracks and pieces, like it's hard to work with non-linear conversations at times. And demos have components of that, but you're mostly driving the ship on the demo side. Discovery calls, the talk time is a little bit more on the prospect's end. So that was kind of some of the things that we saw in the market.
Okay. Are you saying that customers should be talking more than vendors on discovery calls?
I'm saying yes, I do. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes, exactly. Just making sure I get my nomenclature right.
What is the nomenclature that you use?
Well, I guess with prospects versus prospects or customers and vendors for sure. Yeah, I think that's just make
Okay.
sure I'm
No,
speaking correctly
because
here.
like I work in networking, and every company that I go to, they have their own nomenclature. Even in sales, when you interview for roles, every company has its own. It's needs analysis versus discovery. I mean, all right, what's the
Right.
difference? Um,
Oh
okay.
yeah.
So all right, let's talk about discovery, I guess, because you're
Yeah.
shifting towards that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can define discovery. I don't know. That's for those who don't know, who are coming in new. What do you see discovery means?
Yeah, I mean, well, from my perspective, the people that do discovery the most effectively have a real true business conversation. They come into the call with some notion of what that customer or buyer might be doing, what their business looks like, what the industry is doing, what they're kind of experiencing. And then it's our job as the sellers to ask a lot of really thoughtful, educated questions to get those buyers to open up a bit, express some of the challenges that they're going through, the goals that they're trying to get to, why they can't get there. It's really just, in my opinion, it should be more of a conversation, just back and forth, and just trying to dig deeply into what they're trying to accomplish. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Can I'm putting you on the spot here? Can we do an exercise where
Yeah, sure.
you do a discovery on me? I'm a SE. Oh, I'm a leader in my own brain.
Yeah,
And
sure.
I don't know what the gondola is. Maybe we can see what it looks like and figure that out.
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
certainly. Well, yeah, before we jump into the platform, of course, and being a good sales rep. So Ramsey, it's a pleasure to meet you. I see that you're, kind of leading up the SE organization. First off, I would love just to learn a little bit more about you. Of course, I looked at LinkedIn backgrounds, looked at the company, but I think the thing that I'm most curious about after digging deeper is, one of the hardest things to do is scale the right things to close deals, right? Get your reps to run the right process so you can close more happy customers. So tell me more about how do you do that today? What are you trying to focus on, and how do you ensure that adoption of process throughout the sales cycle? Like, tell me a little bit more about that.
Well, as an SE leader, we try to be part of the discovery calls, because most of the time, if we're not part of the discovery calls, we get the wrong information. So if we're part of that, although I'd rather be doing something else, but it is part of my job, jump on discovery call and ask the hard questions to the customers.
Yeah.
I don't know if that scales though.
Yeah, that's fair. I from what we've seen in the industry, that cannot scale at times. It takes a lot of technical resources where we should be spending that, elsewhere. Why do you think you don't get enough the right information from reps if you're not on the call?
Well, we have a very technical product, and
Okay.
a lot of times the reps don't have enough information about all the different products that we have to ask the hard questions, which is why we jump in. We try the checklist thing, and it's just scratches the surface, and we can create a checklist for one product, and then the customer starts talking about a separate product, and the salesperson is just lost.
Certainly. So if you look forward into the future, in ideal world, let's take aside acumen of sales reps and like technical capacity. Would you ideally want SCs to not join discovery calls and only enter the sales cycle at the demo phase? Like, what would that look like into the future?
So we sometimes conflate discovery with qualification. So in an ideal world, the salesperson does the qualification on their own, and then the SE can join a qualified discovery. I mean, sure, sometimes the salesperson can't get everything, but at least 90% of the calls should be qualified. So my SEs don't have to travel across the country for an unqualified call.
Certainly. Okay, so if I heard you right, you have a lot of reps doing kind of the initial qualification. Then in an ideal world, would you still have SCs in your team join the discovery piece of that?
Yeah, as of today, salespeople don't do a qualification. They call it a discovery call and ask the SE to come with them, and then it's unqualified.
Got it. Okay. So it sounds like really, if we could make sure the sales reps are running better qualification calls, then we can make way better use of your technical resource time on the discovery call, so they can dive much deeper and deeper.
Exactly.
Okay. Have you thought about what are the key elements that you want sales reps to be gathering in qualification call that would tee you up for that good call?
Well, it's the usual BANT, budget, like authority. What's the N stand for?
Need and timing.
timeline. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm an SE, not in sales. That's why.
Well, I was an SDR before and I was an AE, so I got you. Okay, so it sounds like really the main issue is we're spending too much time with technical resources doing kind of mundane BANT qualification, wasting a lot of the technical resources time, so we can't get much deeper into the discovery process in the technical discovery where you're really best suited.
Exactly.
Okay. And is there any ways that we have to enable reps on the qualification side of the house yet? Anything that's in place?
The sales enablement team is supposed to do that, but it's not done very well because we do have a lot of products. In my mind, I would want every single SE to come up with their own checklist that they can share with their salespeople for the different products. And then, like, if an SE is an expert in product A and another SE is an expert in product B, share that information. We don't have a single repository for all that. So it ends up being a crapshoot and everyone does whatever they want.
Yeah, just kind of a makeshift. Okay, got it. Yeah, that's honestly what we see in the industry quite a bit is you have a really good sales enablement team, sales ops team. They've set up Salesforce. You have all these really great collateral and assets in place, but it's all in Google Drive and it's not the best organized. It's not front and center. It's not focused.
I wish it was all on Google Drive. It's all on Google Drive. It's all on Confluence. It's all on SharePoint. It's all on every. Well, it's not all. It's like they're all desperate. Yeah, they're all over the place. And even if we have that, how do I guarantee that the salesperson read those or looked at them or took it with him before a call when they met with the customer?
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. Well, I'd say that's kind of some of the elements that we see just when we approach, customers is our sales collateral is disparate. It's all over the place. We have inconsistent adoption of that process, which is leading to poor discovery, wasted technical resources. And so where we come into the fold is we sit right embedded into your, Zoom client. We centralize all those resources and distill them down to the most essential pieces to cover on qualification, demo, or discovery and demo. And the best part is AEs and SEs can work together on the right checklists that are specific to that partnership. So we can create a better alignment between AEs and SEs. So you're actually queuing your reps up accordingly to run that qualification call. Anytime the SE gets brought in, they've had buy-in on, some of the questions and templates that are being asked. And then you can just kind of keep moving forward. So it's where we start with a lot of our customers is how is discovery more across the sales process, multiple stages, and not just one step.
That's funny. That's good. I thought Gondola was all about demos, but turns out you guys do more.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. That was fun. That was good roleplay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. And like, there's a few things that you did that I really enjoyed in terms of like asking for more information. A lot of times, the most used question when I see my SEs work is like, how many users? Right. And we never jump into like, what's the business case? And you kind of found the business cases. Well, I'm spending so much money on SEs traveling all over the place to join useless calls. And you called that in the middle of the discovery.
Yeah. So, well, and I think too, we're followers of MEDPIC is like our qualification framework, but specifically how we think about it is, in my opinion, right now, what I've done on this call and that mock-up is just I've identified pain. But I don't even know how much time is wasted, how much of those deals fall flat. Like you got to get to numbers to really, really drive drive things forward.
Yeah. I mean, like that was a 5-minute qualification call, I guess. I think what you just did is provide enough teaser information so that if there's an SE involved, they could be useful on the call.
Exactly.
So that was, what is MEDPIC? Do you remember?
Yeah, it's a qualification framework, so it's an acronym. It's like BANT.
Yeah, I love these. I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah,
I'm familiar with Medic. I'm familiar with BANT.
Oh, you know Medic then?
Is it Medic or Medic? I like to call it Medic.
Oh, I've heard it called Medic, but Medic and MEDPIC are basically the same thing.
Okay.
There's just a few extra letters in there, really. So I think they have 2 C's and a P. So paper process and champion and competitors is the additional pieces by comparison of the two.
I'm going to change BANT to banter.
I like
it. With an I. And I influence. There you go. And R is something. I don't know. Ramsey.
Yeah, there you go.
Just I'll come up with my own acronym. That'll be good.
Yeah.
So, all right, what was your initial thought when you were doing the demo? Like, I feel like you know your product very well.
Mhm.
That's why you were able to kind of ask the questions. But how do you teach your salespeople at least to learn the product enough and learn what possible pain points the customers have so they can ask the right questions?
Yeah, I think because I've worked with a lot of organizations now on the discovery process, because discovery and demo are like it's like PB and J, man. It's like
Yeah.
they just belong together. One feeds into the other. And so, in working with a lot of organizations, like the structure of discovery calls are actually fairly consistent in my mind. It's like you have openers, you have kind of welcomes and intros. Let's kind of build some rapport a little bit, right? They kind of shoot the shit. Excuse my language, but and then we'll go into, hey, this is some information that I know about you to kind of prove myself the subject matter expert. So our team talks about what points of information are we trying to gather ahead of time. Let's look up LinkedIn. Let's look how long they've been at the company. What is their company doing? Are they hiring right now? What is their sales headcount done? So on and so forth, because it just gives us some information about what's going on to establish ourselves as like, hey, I'm here and I'm really able to, I've done my homework, more or less. That's what I expect every rep here to do, is
Right.
show up and know who you're speaking with, what you're speaking about, so you can quickly establish that rapport and that you're actually here to have a good business conversation. So that's some of the first pieces that we start with, and then there are segments there forward, but on how we think about scaling it. A lot of things that can be quite helpful too is just giving a little bit of a tee up, saying, "Hey, what our solution does is we help with scaling sales process." So a lot of my questioning is going to be in relation to that and uncovering if there's any initiatives here right now, just to kind of give some context behind the questions.
What is the biggest challenge you find in doing discovery calls with customers?
That I find personally with doing discovery calls to customers.
Well, let's
Just
start with
generally.
that. Let's start with that, and then maybe in general.
Yeah, I think for me personally, as I've been on this startup journey, it's been tough to identify who is on the call to just see something that's new and interesting, and who is on the call to really has a business problem that we can solve. Like, new startups are fairly intriguing to some people and they want to see what's new out there. And so separating those two into two distinct buckets and not getting happy ears has been a painful lesson I've learned over and over again.
So I was working with a client, and he was flustered. Like, I have a couple of discovery calls today. I'm like, do you know if they're qualified? He's like, no. All right, well, you're invited to a unqualified discovery call as an SE.
Mhm.
Great, go find out if it's actually qualified.
Mhm.
And 5 minutes later, or after the call, it's like, oh, both of the calls were not qualified. But there's something that you said, discovery and demo was like peanut butter and jam.
Mhm.
That same SE messaged me later on saying, I had an amazing demo because of the discovery that I did, and because I was able to touch on the pain point. So 100%, if you like, a demo is useless if you haven't done a proper discovery.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too, in relation to that point, is because now we're into the world at our company, is when we work with customers, is a lot of them are using us for both demos and discoveries. And in workshops that we run with them, it's like, okay, what are the key use cases within your demos that you're trying to walk through, or that use cases, industries, features, functions, whatever that is. And let's create in the middle part of a discovery call, what is your rep trying to guide them towards and uncover in terms of use cases,
Yeah,
so you exit that discovery call with the right use cases, the right pains, and you're teeing up your SC accordingly with the right information.
yeah. And so how going back to the first thing we were talking about, like when you said it's hard to find
Yeah,
those who have a business problem versus those who are interested. How do you actually overcome that challenge?
yeah. Well, how I've done it poorly a lot, and then I've gotten better over time because you learn through mistakes, no doubt. Um, but if I ever get the sense from somebody that there isn't really a problem here, and this could be in this world where they're like just looking at new tech that's interesting, or maybe they don't actually have a business problem, I'll call them out and just say, "Hey, I got to be honest with you, Ramsey. I don't know if I've really found anything that we can help out with here. Like, I don't know if this is a good fit. And I think to make best use of your time, my time, I'd love to follow up at the end of about 6 months and see if things have changed. Or unless I miss something, please let me know if I'm wrong here." And people will always tell you.
Yeah. The first question I like to ask in general, whether
Mhm.
I'm working as an SE or a salesperson, is why did you want to talk with us today?
Yeah,
Because
it's
if they don't
great.
have an answer for that, like, all right, I guess you don't
Yeah.
know. All right, maybe we'll dig in a little bit deeper. Like, you're
Mhm.
investing your time. Why?
Certainly. Yeah.
Uh,
Or, what about my outreach piqued your interest, or, whatever. There could be something in the email that was said or on a cold call or what have you that was like, you said that and that was really particular.
yeah, yeah. I mean, just asking. Sometimes we think that there's some weird techniques that we have to do to con the customer into telling us something. I find that just asking them the questions, like, why did you want to meet? What's the
Yeah.
problem?
Yeah.
It, like, saves me a lot of time. And if they don't answer,
Certainly.
then I can come up with the techniques later. But yeah, that's
Yeah. Yeah, I certainly agree with you there. And I do have I'm very fortunate in the sense. Well, it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. I sell to salespeople all day,
yeah.
and so it's like they know what I'm doing, they can see what I'm doing. So sometimes I get praise. Some people are like, "Oh, wow, you're really good at this," and other people are like super shut down because they know what we're doing and they're trying to withhold information. So it's all of the map,
That's
but it's
fun.
like,
Yeah, I would imagine selling to salespeople, like, they would be more open because, like, they've been somewhere where people have shut them down. Well, I could go either way. It could be like,
yeah,
oh, I'm open. I want to help you because I've been in your shoes, or it's like, hey, someone gave me trouble. It's my chance to give it to somebody else. So
yeah. Well, and what I tell all the all the people that work for us, I say, in our sales cycles, we need to be the example. We want people to leave the call. People don't want, yeah, they'll buy our product, no doubt, but I want people to buy the process that they're experiencing with us, and they want to be acting like we're selling. We're doing good discovery. We're doing great demos. We're pausing. We're asking questions. We're digging deeper, and like send good follow up emails. Enable our buyers afterwards. Like, we know what to do, but very few people actually do it well. And I say, hey, we need to be the example here. Otherwise, what are we doing really? And if we can't do that, then yeah.
why do you think if like people don't do it well? It's been known for a while. Like,
Yeah.
what stops them from doing what is known to work?
Laziness. Maybe. Yeah, it's a lame answer, but it's kind of true. Or maybe things that are obvious aren't always obvious to do in the moment. It's like when you see somebody who's really experienced at discovery or the best SCs I've ever seen. It's like it's fluid, it's effortless. It's just like, how are you doing this? And that's just, it takes years of preparation and all that to kind of get to that spot, and trying it a lot and messing up a lot. So things that are obvious to do aren't always done because they're too challenging or don't know exactly how to phrase it or what to do or so on and so forth.
Right. And when I asked you, like, what is the challenging thing that you're trying to overcome right now, you asked me if it's for you or for people in general.
Mhm.
So you answered for yourself. What do you see for people in general, for your customers? What are they trying to overcome?
Yeah, that one is very clear to me in terms of like the common theme that I see as it pertains to discovery. Um, it's fairly easy to identify pain, identify it. You are struggling with the technical resource allocation right now. That is your main pain that we've identified here. I
Yeah.
don't know anything more beyond that. It takes a real experienced seller to go multiple layers deeper and say, "Oh, that's really interesting. What percentage of the calls would you say on average, or just a guess, go to wasted deals?" Oh, 50%. What's your call volume per week? Oh, I run about, 10 calls a week. It's like, cool. So you're telling me 5 out of 10 calls are just going nowhere.
Yeah.
Uh, and so it's digging much deeper into that pain and why it's a problem, why now, and what metric you're trying to change.
Yeah. So basically, not stopping from the first sign of trouble.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. I think what a lot of people do is they get process alignment. They say, "Oh, you're struggling with this pain. We solved this pain." And they're not even thinking about the solution yet. They may not even recognize it's a problem. Like, and you're just like shoving a product down their throat when they're like, "Whoa, I'm on step 1 right now. You're on step 10. Like, we got a
Yeah.
ways to go here, buddy."
Yeah. One thing I see is, like, when I said earlier, like, hey, I show up to a customer, they say, we want gondola. It's like, all right, how many licenses? Never
Yeah.
ask why.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Okay. You want it? I get overexcited. It's like, all right, let me write up the order right now.
Yeah.
So,
I know. It's why, inbound leads can also be kind of tricky at times too. It's like people that come to you and say, "Hey, I want your product." It's like, cool, great. Just moving right into closing. So you just got to take the extra effort and just dive a little bit deeper at times and just make sure you're really aligned.
yeah, I mean, as an SE, sometimes I get these customers to say, I want this feature on this product. And my response is, why do you want that feature on that product? They're like, oh, because we want to do Y. I'm like, all right, we can't do that. That feature on that product is useless. But if I sold them the product, not that they would like, in my industry, I wouldn't be able to sell them without trialing out and whatever. So if I send them demo licenses, there goes 3 weeks of them not doing anything with it. And then, all right, let me send you demo licenses again. This time I learned from my mistakes. Let me set up a half-hour call with you to jump on a call. Jump on a call, do the half-hour thing, show them how to configure it, leave. 5 days later, hey, how's it going? Oh, it's not working. So now the deal cycle is going. I could have either ended it right there because we don't have what works for them, or I could have suggested the right product and shortened the deal cycle by, I don't know, a couple hours, I guess, but a lot more.
Hey, it makes a big difference though. And that's really interesting parallel you just drew there, is like how you should handle feature requests from customers is very similar to how you should run discovery. It's just, okay, that's great. I hear you. Why? Like, why do you want that? Why can't you do it now?
Well, you can see each feature as its own product if you want. You can see a combination of features as a product. It doesn't matter. But if a customer calls me and says, I want this, I want to know why. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it is that what you want. I'm happy to provide it to you.
Yeah.
But are you sure? Like, you don't know my product as well as I do. You know your stuff more than I know your stuff, but I can help you. Like, I'm not trying to waste your time. And the biggest challenge I have in discovery, and I want to hear your thoughts, is because I wanted to do that to you when you were doing the discovery until you asked the question, and I changed my mind. It's like, go through like introductions, whatever. It's like, all right, can I ask you a few questions? I want to ask you about this. I want a demo.
Yeah,
that's the response. How do you deal with someone just constantly asking, like, I don't want to answer your questions, just show me a demo?
Yeah, it's a good point. My opinion has changed on this over the years because I used to be an SC. So like I was an SC previously. That's where the whole demo flow concept came to light. And so I got that quite a bit. And I just want to see a demo. Just show me a demo. I don't want to answer your questions. Let's just move on. You know, in the past, I would be kind of stubborn and I'd say, you know, I have talk tracks. I'd say, hey, I certainly hear you there. I'm happy to walk you through a demo so I can do my job more effectively. I like to answer these few questions with me. I can customize it on the back half, tailored perfectly to your workflow, so on and so forth. That's a really great answer, especially if you have a more technical product. Our product is not very technical. So I do what are called, you know, pocket demos. So it helps to explain the context of what we're doing. If they want to see it, I'll just pop it open real quick and I stop screen sharing very quickly, like 2 minutes, 3 minutes, walk them through some things just to kind of earn the right to ask more questions and give more context. So my opinion has changed on a little bit, probably as a byproduct of just a less complex product, honestly.
Yeah, I would say my opinion has changed as well, a little bit, not drastically, but if I were to do a demo, if a customer requests like such a thing, it sometimes feels like I think you said it. I need to earn the right to ask them some questions. So he wants his questions answered. Great. All right, let me do a demo. Let me bring it up. What do you want to see? All right, now we're getting somewhere. Versus, all right, let me bring it up, and then I start configuring whatever I want. And it works less when you have like 17,000 products with lots of different features. But you can use it as a discovery call. All right, let's walk through this. And you know, sometimes the customer is just so focused on the features, not the value. So how do you go around that? How do you switch it from feature to value?
Yeah, well, it's a good point. Well, I think the first thing, like a general rule of thumb that I think is, like, hopefully you've done good discovery on the front half, but let's say you haven't been able to, is one of the biggest mistakes I see, if it's like, fine, you need to see a demo, Ramsey. Okay, fine, let's do the demo. I'll make you happy right now. But the biggest mistake I see is people forgetting that they're in a discovery call then. Let me just, I'm up here, give me the mic. It's my turn to talk, coach. Put me in. And I just ramble on and on and on. And when you ramble, you're just talking about features. You're saying you don't have a coordinated effort of what you're trying to do with pausing points and questions and layering deeper and deeper. So like, keep it short, keep it real short. And then don't forget that you're on a discovery call. Even if you're on a demo, you're on a discovery call. Like, keep asking questions and don't forget that part.
Yeah, like we tend to forget the why question. Like, all right, what do you want to see? Oh, I want to see this. Oh, that's interesting. What brought this to your attention? right? And now you can dig deeper. And as you're showing, instead of talking about, oh, now I'm clicking on this button, now I'm clicking that button, you can be asking questions because everybody can see that you're clicking buttons.
Yeah. And you made a comment earlier in the discussion here about sometimes AEs just say like, oh, how many users do you want, or kind of more, I'll call that more superficial discovery.
Yeah, I was saying SEs more than AEs.
Or SEs, yeah. Well, I mean, I hear this too, even in AEs, where they'll just say, well, like, what's your team look like today? Like kind of generic questions that don't really hold a lot of weight and meaning behind them, or don't really get you what you want. They get you an answer, but it's not, what are you going to do with that information? And you should cascade your discovery questions accordingly. Like your most important and valuable questions should be at the top once you've earned the right to ask those. And then once I jump into demos at times, it's very casual. It's like, cool, how many reps do you have on your team right now? You have 20. Okay, cool. What's your CRM? Got it. What are you doing for this, and this? And you're just kind of peppering these in along the way, because these are easy questions.
Yeah. But I like that, like earning the right to ask questions. I think that's the big takeaway that I have from this call.
Indeed.
So, I like that. I wanted to talk to you. Like last time we talked, you mentioned equity, and you mentioned that not many people negotiate on equity. And it kind of, in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm one of those guys. What's wrong with that? So I like cash in my hand because I don't know what's going to happen with equity. So tell me, maybe we can define equity in Larson speak, not necessarily technical speak, but what is equity? And we're kind of shifting 180 degrees right now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but this is good because, I mean, obviously, as a CEO of a startup company, it's a part of what we offer in terms of a compensation package. You have your salary, you have benefits, and then an equity package. And it's really just common shares within the company that vest over a certain period of time. So when they're first given to you, you don't actually own them. They vest over time, and 9 times out of 10, every company I've ever seen, it's a 4-year vesting schedule with a 1-year cliff. Meaning, unless you work at that company for a full year, you don't get any of your equity. Once you hit a year, you get 25%, and then it vests 136 every month thereafter.
So just as an example, if the whole thing is 80K equity, so if once you hit the first year, you get 20K out of that, right?
Yep.
And then 20, another 20, and 20 until it's all vested. What happens after that?
Well, after that, you're fully vested. So if on the event that there is a liquidation event, so an exit or something else, an exit or an acquisition, or you go public or whatever it might be, you're going to have like your strike price and then the exercise price. So exercise price is like what you go public at, or what investors would pay, and what you could sell that on like public market. Strike price is a much lower dollar amount that is specific to the time that you join the company, and the difference is what you make. So once you leave go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. Keep going.
So yeah, when you leave an organization, so let's say I'm 2 years into a company, I say it's my time to go, I want to leave. You get the ability to purchase at the strike price that was negotiated ahead of time all of the shares that are vested. You can purchase them at that price, and then you own them. And then at any liquidation event into the future, you have the ability to sell those off should you so choose.
Okay. I think you answered half of my question, which is a good thing I didn't interrupt, or I did interrupt. But if you want to sell them after 2 years, is that the strike price that you keep, or can you not sell them?
So the strike price remains steady. So like, let's say a strike price is 50 cents. I joined a company at Series B, strike price is 50 cents, but it sells, the exercise price like further out is $5 a share. So that difference, $4.50, is what your profit, if you will, on those shares if you were to sell them.
If you were to sell them after the exit or whatever it is.
Exactly right.
But let's say I worked 2 years for Gondola, and then I decide to leave. That's not cash. Can I take it as cash in my pocket?
No.
That's like me questions. No. So they pretty much stay with the company.
They stay with, well, if you purchase them, they stay with you. Okay. So like for 2 years, whatever you have for 2 years, you actually do literally write the company a check. You say, I'm buying these from the company at the strike price. And you bought them, you leave with the 2 years worth of vested shares. And then those are yours. You keep them, you store them in Carta. And then at a point in time in the future, when you're ready to sell them, you have the ability to do so.
Okay. So after 2 years, this is where my ignorance shines. So I'm going to be curious for other people. So you said every year that you get 20K, for example. So after the first year, if you want to leave, you still have to pay a check at What's the 20K for them?
Yeah. So let's say on the 80K total example here. So you leave after 1 year. That's 1/4 of your shares, which is 20,000 shares. Let's say the strike price was 50 cents. You owe the company $10,000 to buy those shares. And let's say the purchase price or exercise price later becomes $5 a share. Well, now you have 10,000 or 20,000 shares at $5 a share. So that's $100,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if they want to sell those shares after a year, can they do that? Sorry?
That's a better question.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to get after.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a better question. I'm not sure if I know the answer to that one. I would assume that if it's still a private company, like I think there could be buyback, like companies could buy back their equity. I think unless it's like public company or is acquired, that would be the situation when there's a liquidation event. I don't want to speak out of turn here.
So if someone's going to a big company like Slack or whatever, and they get equity, the company would buy it back if they want. But at a startup that's before going public or exiting, it'll be difficult. We need to come up. We need to come up with an answer for that at that time. So talk to your startup company, I guess, because
and there are also solutions out there. Like one that comes to mind is called EquityZen, and they actually buy shares from former employees. So they'll buy like a third-party marketplace where if you left your company and you're like, I want to sell these, you can actually sell them to a third party, which is EquityZen or probably others out there.
Why should people keep their equity? And the whole it seems incentivized to keep the equity with the employee.
Yeah, you should really only, in my opinion, you should really only keep your equity if you believe in the company still. Even if you got exited or you left the company, whatever it was, like if you don't believe in where it's going and like that it's going to do something, then don't waste your money, really. Like, I think that's really important. If you don't believe it, then what's the point?
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's kind of like any other stock. If you don't believe in it, don't buy it or sell it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Larson, this has been great. And I want to make sure that I didn't miss any questions I should have asked you on either topic. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think this was good. I mean, we talked through a lot on the discovery process. What are people most struggling with? General structures behind discovery, and then walking through some of the equity pieces. When you go, well, I think really with negotiation, that was a big point of it. Is like we're talking about how does equity work, but almost every single person that has worked for us has always negotiated for salary over equity, or even over both. Like they forget that it's a multiple part of negotiation. It's like when you sell a software deal, you throw in a startup fee at times, and it's another point of negotiation that you can have, so you don't reduce your per user price or so on and so forth. So what I look for and what I really want, I certainly understand cash in hand is better than potential money into the future. Like I'm not delusional in that sense, but I think there is a signal behind, especially in early startups. To be clear here, early startups, to me, it's a signal of how invested are you into what we're potentially doing here. I expect everybody to negotiate, but I expect everyone to negotiate on both, and that hasn't always been the case. Where it's like they go all for all salary, and they'll take much lower stock, which is fine. But I think people should remember that you can negotiate both, and if that's what you prefer. And some people aren't in a financial position to, put bigger emphasis on stock. Like that's fine. Like that's not a big deal. But if you are, I think that can be beneficial depending upon what you're joining.
So you've worked for several startups before starting your own, right? Mm-hmm. So what was were you interested in getting equity as well?
Yeah, I got a whopping 500 shares from my first company. I was an SDR. It was my first gig in SaaS. So I certainly didn't know what I know now. And so I didn't know how to negotiate. I definitely didn't negotiate for stock at that. So I made this mistake, and but yes, I have kind of gone through this.
And as a CEO, is your preference to provide higher? Like for me, if I were to own a company, I feel uneasy giving some stock to people. I don't know why. Maybe that's just me. As a CEO, what's your preference? I guess I'll stop there. What is your preference?
Yeah, well, my preference is that whoever is asking has a good enough understanding of what they need in their life to keep them moving along. What is the most important thing is like making sure you can live your life, you have good livelihood, because this startup life is so demanding, it's so time intensive. And so I don't want anyone to feel super strapped for cash if they join the company. So you have to know what you need. What are your fixed expenses? What do you really have to bring in? And like, that's the most important thing to me. And if you have the flexibility to negotiate for more equity, you should absolutely do that, because that's the longer term gain. And that would probably be my preference is
Right.
I'd rather give equity to employees than to investors. Like, that's just period. That's just, they're putting in all the work to help us get there. And so I
Nice.
want them to see that big
I
payday
like
and be
that.
invested in it.
I like that. All right, let's move on to the not so firearm before we jump into
Yeah.
another rabbit.
Cool.
So I've changed this a little bit since the last time we talked.
Mhm.
And I'll start off with question number one. By the way, these are the same 4 questions I ask every guest, except I changed them up a little bit. So
Cool.
not. What do you think is your superpower?
My superpower is I have an ability to, I'm an endless ocean of ideas. And I'm not saying the right ideas, to be clear here. I'm an endless ocean of ideas because that's what I only get brought the biggest and toughest problems at the company, period. If nobody
Right.
else can solve it, it's my job to solve it. And so I've exercised this muscle thousands of times over the past 3 years to where like I can pretty much sort through a lot of different problems. It helps me out in sales cycles, it helps me out in workshops. So like just ideating on a way forward and coming up with the best plan moving forward and taking complex problems and coming up with a solution very quickly is probably one of the things I'm best at.
Nice. Do you think ideas, like you mentioned, that you don't always come up with the best ideas or good ideas?
Mhm.
Do you think coming up, it's a numbers game? That's why the more ideas you get, the more chances you'll get a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think it's a muscle that you flex, right? Like you just have to keep trying and keep trying and keep trying. You see where things fail or you break down or whatever, and it also forces you to remove ego. Because if you're wrong so many times, it's like, well, I'm not worried about being wrong, so I can make a decision, and you just get better over time. And certainly that's bit me, no doubt, like no question. But
Yeah.
it's something that I have to do a lot.
Yeah. I love sharing my ideas with my wife. She looks at me like I'm nuts.
Word.
It's always fun. I think I asked you this. All right, I asked you about Discovery specifically. So, as a CEO and the founder of a company that sells, well, it enables sales, what have you found as your biggest challenge?
Um, our biggest challenge, or my biggest challenge, my biggest one thing that was an unexpected challenge is I thought my biggest strength coming into starting the company was the fact that I was an SC, an SDR, and an AE. Like I've been all 3 roles. What I
Right.
didn't expect is that has been one of my biggest Achilles heel. Is there are elements on starting a company. Starting a company is much different than selling a deal. Like pushing a deal forward versus when you have to build the product, come up with the ideas for the product. What are the workflows there? It's way more complex, and I have the biggest subject matter expert at the company with the context here, but at times that is not to my advantage actually, where I guide us in a direction because of my background, but I only know so much. Like I don't know what the masses need and what they want. So we need to gut check me a lot of times because I have the experience, but I'm also not right 100% of the time. Let's be clear here. So
Yeah.
that has been one of the bigger challenges, is just kind of making sure that we, don't only follow what I say and look at the broader scope and get other people's opinions on it. And I try to be very cautious of that.
Okay. I was going to ask you, how do you overcome that? But I think you just answered it with the last sentence. All right. So I see the next question is a book or resources, specifically about discovery. And I see a book behind you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to share that one or another book.
Yeah. Well, I got a few ones behind me. So this one's
Well, the one that's facing me, doing Discovery by Peter Cohen.
this is Peter Cohen's new book. So
Yeah.
it just came out. I just got it in the mail, so it's on my list to be reading here, doing Discovery. So shout out to Peter.
So you haven't read that yet. Okay.
I haven't read it yet, but I have it on my iPad too. So I just wanted to get them, buy one on Amazon too. So I just want to support them.
Yeah, that's good. Is there another book or resource you would recommend for folks who want to get better at discovery?
Folks that want to get better at discovery. I honestly, I don't know if I have a good recommendation there, frankly. Like a lot of the books that I read, so like The Hard Thing About Hard Things, All Things Startup, Sell More Faster, it's very early stage startup specific and like going through those phases. So I can't say I have a good resource discovery specific, but I'll get back to you on Peter's book right here, and we'll see if it's a good one.
I'm sure it's a great book, and
I'm sure
everybody should get it. It's on my list. All right, last question of the not so fire round. I'm not sure if I asked you this last time, but is there a habit you're working on today to improve in your personal or professional life?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Well, what I have now, I'm past the like working on building the habit now, but over the past 3 years, I've not been the most healthy person, as I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with. Has been cooped up inside, so I foregone the exercise component of my life, which led to a lot of insanity up here and just a lot of difficulty. So since about January, I've been about a 4 to 5 day a week pace of getting back in the gym. And that has just been super helpful for me. And even worse than that is I've been trying to do more cardio, which just put a bullet in my head. But trying to, lose a few lbs here and get more in shape and keep my head on straight.
Yeah, I've taken up running as a sport.
Oh yeah,
I'm not a runner, man.
My hat's off to you, man. I'm not a runner either. That sounds painful.
I'm 6'2", 290 pounds. When I talk to my physiotherapist, like, why are you doing this to me? That's what
right. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I like I go on the Stairmaster, so just the hamster wheel there, and just walk upstairs until I'm dead.
Nice. Hey, that works. All right, Larson, where can people reach out and connect with you if they want to do that?
Yeah, for sure. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. Larson Stair is my full name. You can reach out to us on our website. It's gondola.ai. It'd be probably the two best places to get in touch with us.
So I've used Gondola, and you haven't paid me to do this. This is not a paid segment. I use Gondola as much as my company allows me to, and I recommend it to everybody. And everybody should take a look. At least take a look, because I think it's a great tool for, at least for, like, I use it in demo perspective. I haven't used it too much in discovery because I'm the only one who uses it in my company. So check it out. Awesome. And let's just leave it there.
Well, I appreciate that, Ramsey. I appreciate the shout out, and it's been great to be on the discussion here today.
I had a great time talking to you. Thank you, Larson, for coming on. I really enjoyed chatting. I enjoyed the role play part. Sometimes when I try to role play with somebody, it's hard because their technology is not the same as mine. But because I'm a sales engineer, it made it easier for me to actually be able to answer questions the way customers would. So I enjoyed that part. Let me know your thoughts. How would you have done discovery differently? What are some of the mistakes that you see, and how have you done to improve in your discovery call or discovery process? And I'll just leave it there. If you're enjoying the show, please make sure to leave a review, leave a rating on whatever platform you use. Share with somebody who you think would be helpful too. So I'm just going to leave it there. I appreciate your time again, and I'll be signing off. So for myself, I'm signing off.